He said that himself. When Tulsi Gabbard was asked about Donald Trump's absurd lies about an imminent threat from Iran to the United States, she simply pretends that it is no longer the job of the Director of National Intelligence to assess or describe threats. And that could not be more insane when she's appearing in a hearing titled the Worldwide Threats Assessment Hearing. Two of those hearings every year, 2 days in a row, in the Senate and in the House. And this was day 2. And Tulsi Gabbard became the first Director of National Intelligence in history to claim it is not her job to actually make threat assessments. It is not her
That's
job
insane.
to ever use the phrase imminent threat. She's just not allowed to use it. She's just not ever allowed to say those 2 words, according to her new, invented, lying description of her job.
Director Gabbard, last year you testified that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. Do you stand by that statement? Yes or no?
Context matters with that
Yes or
statement.
no? Yes.
Iran had all of
I
the
reclaim my
materials
time.
and
I reclaim my
capabilities
time.
to do so.
Mr. Chairman, I reclaim my time.
Can't even force
It's
the
an easy
answer.
answer. You either stand by what you said last year or not.
It is a
Ask
serious question that requires the
Director
totality of
Gabbard,
the
I reclaim
information
my
available.
time. I reclaim my time. Did you? When President Trump was asked about your testimony, he said you were wrong. Were you lying or not?
I stand by the intelligence
Great.
community's
With that,
complete assessment.
Director Ratcliffe, when it came to the director's testimony, she said that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon last spring in Congress, and said the Supreme Leader has not authorized the nuclear weapons program. Do you agree with what she said or
Oh,
not?
shit.
Yes or no?
The director's right here. She can speak for herself.
Oh, so I thought this was an intelligence community briefing. Let's move on.
The weak fools at the top of Donald Trump's intelligence team. So there's the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and the Director of the CIA, John Radcliffe,
Why is this
disgracing
shit down
in
28%?
full public fear of saying out loud that there was no imminent threat. At the same time, they will not say there was an imminent threat. And that's after Tulsi Gabbard's deputy, Joe Kent, resigned in protest because he said in writing in a letter to Donald Trump, there was no imminent threat of an attack from Iran. Saying out loud that there was no imminent threat. At the same time, they will not say there was an imminent threat. And that's after it.
Oh, the co-founder was arrested. There we go. Charged with smuggling tech to China. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Take the puts. I mean, it's only gonna fall today. I mean, not much analysis you really do here. Not much analysis is you could really do here.
Tulsi Gabbard's deputy, Joe Kent, resigned in protest because he said in writing in a letter to Donald Trump there was no imminent threat of an attack from Iran. That's what Donald Trump wants them to say. He wants them to say that there was a threat. Donald Trump wants them to say that everything Donald Trump has said about this is correct and we agree with it, but they are boldly refusing to do that for Donald Trump in the middle of his war. They are refusing to agree. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and the Director of the CIA, John Radcliffe, disgracing themselves in full public fear of saying out loud that there was no imminent threat. At the same time, they will not say there was an imminent threat. And that's after Tulsi Gabbard's deputy, Joe Kent, resigned in protest because he said in writing in a letter to Donald Trump, say there was an imminent threat. And that's after Tulsi Gabbard's deputy, Joe Kent, resigned in protest because he said in writing in a letter to Joe Kent resigned in protest because he said in writing in a letter to Donald Trump there was no imminent threat of an attack from Iran. That's what Donald Trump wants them to say. He wants them to say that there was a threat. Donald Trump wants them to say that everything Donald Trump has said about this is correct and we agree with it, but they are boldly refusing to do that for Donald Trump in the middle of his war. They are refusing to agree with Donald Trump's claim that Iran was an imminent threat. Now, you can interpret congressional testimony, as I used to do professionally as the Chief of Staff of the Senate Finance Committee, by what a cabinet member or administration official says, or just as clearly by what they don't say. And so the screaming headline of both threat assessment hearings 2 days in a row should be Trump's Director of National Intelligence and Trump's CIA Director do not say Iran was an imminent threat. That's it. That's what has happened in these hearings 2 days in a row. They could easily have said it, and they don't say it.
Why can't the U.S. just immediately reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we could, but it takes two to tango. We have to get people to take their $1 billion ship and drive it up.
weapon. So they could easily have said it, and they don't say it.
Why can't the U.S. just immediately reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we could, but it takes two to tango. We have to get people to take their billion-dollar ship and drive it up.
No, that's not it. You cannot open the Straits of Hormuz, and you have not, Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not have the military power to do that, and Tulsi Gabbard said that today. She said Donald Trump is lying when he says they could just immediately open the Strait of Hormuz. Tulsi Gabbard today said Iran still has the means to threaten passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Congressman Jimmy Gomez ended up asking Trump's Director of National Intelligence and CIA Director why they even have a job.
If the president can determine and ignore what you're doing, why do you guys even have a job? Why do you even advise them? So you're saying tomorrow the president of the United States can say China is an imminent threat, and then he can take his own, no matter what the intelligence says, he can take his own action. So that's what you're basically saying. Okay, let's go on. Director Gabbard, you said that North Korea has intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach the homeland. Yet, the Defense Department said that Iran was at least 10 years away from achieving an intercontinental ballistic missile that can reach the homeland. Which one is a more serious threat, North Korea or Iran?
These threats are taken within the context of the total body of intelligence reporting.
So that's, it should be, and that's my point. It's not just about having the capability of building a weapon. It's if they can actually deliver that weapon, if they have the intention of doing that. How many weeks away are they? We haven't heard that they were weeks away. We haven't heard that they're months away. But that's what we're waiting for. Imminent, to me, means is that they're mobilizing troops. They're moving things into position, artillery. They're getting ready to attack. But everything that we've heard is that this is not the case.
Gentlemen's time's expired.
There's been a lot going on with the Epstein probe in Congress and what Democrats say are evasions by the Trump DOJ. Democrats say the Attorney General may be trying to evade a lawful subpoena forcing her to testify on this because she's been dodging. The House Oversight Chairman Comer appears to be backing testify on this because she's been dodging. The House Oversight Chairman Comer appears to be backing Bondi, although he was a part of the committee pursuing the subpoena, but now we're talking about what it means to really comply. He does say yesterday's briefing would not replace, of course, the public process of testifying under oath. There's also testimony coming in from Epstein's longtime lawyer who told Congress he just didn't know about Epstein's wrongdoing. Now, people are entitled to a lawyer and a criminal defense lawyer, but there are larger questions here. There are documents suggesting the facilitation of payments to women, as well as directing witnesses to avoid law enforcement. And so, while no one should be denied a lawyer, even if you face the most heinous allegations in the world under U.S. constitutional law, that does not mean that lawyers can just do anything. So there are still questions, we've probed some of them, about the people around Epstein and whether they crossed the line into joining in his crimes. Congress is going through the unredacted files. Congressman Goldman yesterday said that one unredacted version of an email, which was heavily blacked out, raises questions, that it contradicts some of Trump's defenses about why he ever probed ties with Epstein.
This document here was redacted to the public, it was unredacted to Congress, and it completely disputes everything that Donald Trump has said about Jeffrey Epstein, about what he knew about the allegations, about his disgusting behavior. The Attorney General is covering up this information that she then reveals to Congress. What else is she covering up about Donald Trump's involvement
This is active. The pressure and the evidence is pouring out as we speak. That was, of course, just yesterday, middle of this week. The Daily Beast reports about that same email that it would suggest Epstein maybe was never even asked to leave Trump's club, and that Trump may have been on Epstein's plane and at his home. Now, to be clear, this is an email out of the larger tranche of files. MS now hasn't confirmed the underlying validity of those documents. Trump hasn't been accused of criminal wrongdoing related to those documents. But even if they simply show that Trump has been lying for years about why he broke up his friendship with Epstein, that is a matter of major public interest. Now, Congress is doing some of this work, however delayed. Today, the Epstein lawyer Darren Indyke was being grilled. He's one of the two key lawyers for Epstein. As I mentioned, they say they were just doing their jobs. Other people question whether they took a role as lawyer and turned it into fixer or worse, or ever knowledgeably, knowingly got involved in the criminal scheme. And facilitating payments that you know are for breaking the law is different than, for example, providing someone legal defense. A tape reporting about one of them, Richard Kahn. He was a longtime accountant. Now, Congress grilled him as well. He was previously questioned by the FBI about the contents of this safe. Take a good look, because the BBC has reported, based again on a lot of the new information we're getting, that when the FBI originally raided Epstein's New York mansion back in 2019, the very day he was arrested, agents forced open the safe you just saw, and they found valuables like diamonds and cash, but they also found binders of CDs and hard drives. Now stay with me here, because it gets interesting. There was an issue allegedly with the warrant, and so they didn't leave with all the items. Then they returned with a new warrant. The BBC notes that then the safe had been emptied while they were gone.
How does that happen?
The FBI documents, including the newly released Epstein files, give more color to this. Now, Kahn then told the mansion staff, pack up 2 suitcases with the contents of that safe that he was going to take to his home, according to the FBI. That could allegedly include things like CDs and hard drives, which makes you wonder, what did this sex trafficker want with CDs in his safe? After the FBI spoke to Kahn's then lawyer, he agreed to hand over those suitcases, allegedly untouched. He didn't want agents coming to his house, though, and declined to say who told him to remove the items. This is when your accountants need accountants and your lawyers need lawyers. Kahn's lawyer, telling the BBC his client did cooperate with the FBI, and that is BBC's reporting. We haven't independently gotten additional information, but these are all the questions that, with the new files, really make you wonder why the DOJ seemed to operate this way. Why was evidence allowed to be removed from the safe? Did they confirm they got all the right CDs? Why didn't they pursue these leads more? Part of this story, of course, seems to continue to revolve around the politics and the pressure and the blame game. But another big part of it is still about the victims and the evidence and how long it took to get any kind of justice, and why, even when you had an FBI warrant, you could go in, take stuff out of that safe, and then return it on your good word and promise a little later on.
Will you commit to complying with that subpoena and appearing for a closed-door deposition?
I made it crystal clear I will follow the law.
But does that mean you will? Does that mean you will appear?
We sat there saying, anything you want to ask us, anything you want to ask us. And they screamed, C-SPAN wasn't there, one of them, and then they stormed out of the meeting.
That's the Attorney General's take on this clash over whether she will follow the subpoena to testify under oath in public. She says C-SPAN like it's a dirty word. It's actually part of how congressional hearings are broadcast for every agency. We're joined now by attorney Nancy Erica Smith. She has done civil rights work and represented numerous victims of workplace harassment and sexual assault. Welcome back. Let's start with what sounds like a very unusual situation with Epstein's former lawyer and accountant. Congress is finally taking this testimony. I walked through some of the odd scenarios, including that safe. We can put the photo back up. Your view of all that?
Well, the FBI has never been great on sexism. I mean, the FBI has been sued for sexism and misogyny many, many times. So I think that the FBI, in this case, certainly decided to protect the powerful and the connected, and women and young girls just didn't matter, because it's outrageous that they left the safe and somebody was able to take stuff out of it, bring it to his home, and then they didn't show up to the home with a warrant for the whole house. I mean, they wouldn't. What do you mean he wouldn't let the FBI in the house? It's all absurd.
And when you're dealing with someone like Epstein and you find out that he has CDs and hard drives, and you know that he has a
I guess
surveillance
this is
system.
how
We
the
know now from files that were
FBI
released to me,
operates for.
would talk to people about, let me get the records of this and the email of that and prove where people were. What other questions
These
that
people.
raise in a competent probe of what's on the CDs?
In a competent probe, well, many of the young victims have said that he videoed them. So and there's certainly some evidence in the files that he was blackmailing people. That he would say things like, well, I would never tell your secrets. Well, that's a way of saying, maybe I'll tell your secrets. So the CDs, they may have settlement agreements. They may have legal documents. They may have information about the numerous shell corporations. It says that the investigation was never serious from the time that it was dismantled and he got a sweetheart deal in Florida right up until the time he died.
And so everyone's entitled to a lawyer, and when people hear us say that, I mean that. There's some people in this country who don't care about the constitutional rule of law. In this country, or the Constitution.
Right.
But you don't get a fixer or a co-conspirator or a mob lawyer who's a criminal. There is a difference there. And so I don't want to be misheard as impugning anyone's right to counsel, but Mr. Indike says to Congress, now that these questions late are being asked, he says to explain all of this money stuff. Mr. Epstein, quote, had difficulty accessing credit cards from banks. He required cash to pay for expenses like maintenance, repairs, and daily household needs, meals, gifts, gratuities, and fuel for his private aircraft. Is this a valid and competent defense for a sophisticated attorney? Or did he know, or should he have known, that the amount of cash in shell corporations and other activities suggested future misuse of funds for sex trafficking?
Yeah, well, I think it's highly unlikely that he didn't know. It's highly unlikely. I don't have the facts. But we do know that Khan, Epstein's accountant, testified that the Epstein estate settled with Jane Doe number 4, a very important Jane Doe. Jane Doe number 4's files were hidden until Trump bombed Iran and changed the subject. Jane Doe's number 4 files were only found missing because of the Maxwell discovery. And people noticed that Bates stamps, numbers that lawyers use to identify documents, were missing. So we get, finally...
Oh, I might have to stop the screen. I'm gonna have to mute myself to talk about this conspiracy. Now, allegedly.
Did you mute yourself?
Allegedly. 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 I think the people need to know the truth. I think the people need to know the truth. Hey, to my one viewer, just know we didn't bomb Iran until that Epstein case started heating up. And now we're bombing countries. Oh shit.
Now, lying to the FBI is a crime. Martha Stewart went to jail for it. All people interviewed by the FBI are told that. Jane Doe number 4 alleged to the FBI that Epstein abused her when she was 13 and that Trump abused her when she was 15. Khan were files until Trump bombed Iran and changed the subject. Jane Doe's number 4 files were only found missing because of the Maxwell discovery. And people noticed that Bates stamps, numbers that lawyers use to identify documents, were missing. So we get, finally, right after bombing Iran, we get the Jane Doe number 4 files. Now, lying to the FBI is a crime. Martha Stewart went to jail for it. All people interviewed by the FBI are told that. Jane Doe number 4 alleged to the FBI that Epstein abused her when she was 13 and that Trump abused her when she was 15. Khan, Epstein's accountant, testified that the Epstein estate settled with Jane Doe number 4 for both Epstein and Trump. His lawyer tried to walk that back. Indike refused to confirm or deny that. Now, how do we get to the bottom of that? Congress passes a law invalidating all NDAs from the Trump or the Trump organization, from Epstein, any of his entities, from the estate, or based on any activities at the Epstein properties. Let's have the truth. You want the truth? No NDAs.
Donald Trump's DOJ facing pressure in person for hiding even more Epstein documents. By in person, I mean what we're watching play out right now. Top House Democrats and lawmakers are meeting with embattled Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy A.G. Blanche over the hiding of files and alleged abuse of redactions. The meeting is confidential. It's happening at this hour. If we get any news, we'll bring it to you. Congressman Garcia says the meeting itself will not substitute for a further grilling under oath.
There's been some reporting that somehow they're not interested in doing the full subpoena conversation and the deposition under oath. This is not a substitute for that. And so that is the very first thing that I'm going to remind the Attorney General of.
That's new from Garcia as they talk about that meeting. Bondi has faced MAGA blowback already and even calls for impeachment. She's had several Epstein debacles. There was the Binder incident, Bindergate, where basically she oversaw a lying campaign that claimed to release Epstein files and documents in those binders, but it was a lie, and there was backlash over that. Bondi famously claimed she had a client list on her desk at the beginning of last year. Trump supporters did not take well to all that. There was a revolt over several of those misleading spectacles. There were her other false claims about basically the fact that other men linked to Epstein and the material they had even before the files came out, they were all cleared of wrongdoing, she said. No further cases possible. Well, that, of course, has been shredded by other countries pursuing cases against people linked to Epstein. We cannot tell you legally that all those cases are going to result one way or the other, but her initial claim that there was literally nothing else to investigate, nothing to see here, well, those kind of self-destructive. The news now is that Congress is officially subpoenaing Bondi over Epstein, which shows bipartisan pressure. Remember, Congress is controlled by Republicans. You need some of them to get any subpoena out there. She's, of course, tangled with Congress before. Now she has a high-stakes date, April 14th, for this testimony. And as her actions are drawing fire, the administration also tried to put a different face forward. So while she is still AG, she hasn't been impeached or released yet, her deputy, Todd Blanche, a Trump loyalist, led the first files release, signed those letters to Congress when they started doing the piecemeal release. Also, he did the press on the Epstein files rollout while she stepped back. Now, Deputy Attorney Generals sometimes have the various portfolio duties, but everyone noticed that because this was a huge deal, and they'd sidelined her. Lawmakers now concerned that he's pushing a cover-up, new heat on hiding the full unredacted Epstein documents about a DEA money laundering probe from 2015. And at the risk of giving everyone a little deja vu, this is that document. You've seen this kind of redactions before. I will say in fairness to DOJ that they did release a lot of unredacted and real material in that 3 million file release. But this right here is part of 69 pages from this DEA probe that was heavily redacted. The investigation was on illicit funding or distribution of so-called club drugs and an alleged prostitution ring. Bloomberg has reported on this, and they were reviewing both Epstein himself, but also over 10 other people back in 2015.
This is kind of interesting.
So folks are asking in Congress, with all this time passed and Epstein being dead, why is this so super redacted? Remember, these kind of redactions, when you deal with CIA or certain issues, they are unfortunately common. But Congress passed a law, a veto-proof law we all watched, that said that kind of redaction itself is not allowed. The stuff that's normally redacted, they said, should be unredacted. If there are names, which there's no name this long, of names of victims, those kind of things under the law can still be redacted, but not pages and pages. Meanwhile, Blanche is the rare official who actually felt the need to clarify. In case you were confused, he says he's not defending Epstein. He's just explaining the process.
I'm not trying to defend Epstein. I'm not. And I do defend the work that this department is doing today, right now, which is going after every single perpetrator anywhere. And if there's a narrative that exists that we're ignoring Epstein victims,
I think that's harder than it
false.
needs to be.
Pushing back, defending, saying that's a narrative, but of course it's the Epstein victims who've been saying that, and you can't reduce their testimony, much of it nonpartisan, they're not here, most of them, with some apparent axe to grind, as a, quote, narrative. And then there are the ways that this administration, having released the files, has stoked more questions. We have reported on the questions around Epstein's in-custody death. Our special report and timeline used the newly released files, which, as I mentioned, it's good we finally got them from the government if you're interested in the facts and transparency. But we also learned through those files about the DOJ's past misstatements on this very issue. The questions, meanwhile, are only rising in Washington. If you happen to catch this report, you may say, okay, so people are asking questions, the media's asking questions, this is an MS Now original investigative report, but it turns out now we're seeing the overlapping issue and questions also posed in D.C. Blanche was asked about.
And are you guys completely confident that it was indeed suicide?
Yes, we're confident.
There's also new questions about an orange-colored figure going up the stairs towards Epstein's cell around 10:39 p.m. the night he died. Do you know who that person was?
I don't think we know.
Wouldn't that fall within the window when Epstein could have died?
I think that falls within the window of when he could have died.
Why has none of the guards been held legally accountable?
Well, they were. Two of them were prosecuted, and ultimately there was a non-prosecution agreement to may not be the accountability that you want or the others want, but there was accountability.
Now, there are some answers. He's on a podcast there with an individual who is affiliated with the Trump administration. Questions are useful. You can take him and what he's saying in the answer.
This is
One of
interesting.
the questions there that she posed cites the kind of reporting that we and CBS and some other journalists have
It's a
done.
real estate company too.
Which found that on video the FBI saw what appeared to be an inmate or a person in orange that night, and yet the DOJ described it differently. And Blanche says, yep, that could have been within the window. So he's sort of acknowledging that open question. He also said, well, there was accountability for those guards. That's not the case. As we showed in the death timeline, you see prison guards indicted there in the middle next to the Epstein photo, but to the right, as we showed you, the charges were dropped. Now, we don't know what would have happened if they continued the case. It was unusual to indict and drop the charges. Here we have the Deputy Attorney General seemingly wanting to defend everything the government and the DOJ has done, even though that happened in the past. But that's certainly not accountability. You drop the charges, you're not finishing that case. The government has had some problems with accountability and transparency on this for years. And I want to be clear. What you heard there from Todd Blanche was his claims that basically they never did anything wrong, not while he's in charge and not previously. And that's just false, because we showed you in our reporting and many different accounts about the problems here, and you've probably heard the victims talk about it. And that also includes Merrick Garland's DOJ. The misleading report about that same video was published by the Inspector General.
I mean, this is a
during the
really
Garland
good
Justice
setup.
Department.
I'm not gonna lie.
And so you're reminded that they don't even bother to blame the past. They're so afraid, apparently, of this story, they say everything was fine. And that's not on the left. Today, it's not Merrick Garland, it's not the history. Today, it is the Trump administration in charge, Bondi and Blanche. And they're getting apparently a failing grade from many members of Congress.
I'm gonna quickly break this stock down. We got Joe, St. Joe Company. It's a real estate company, real estate finance company that primarily real estate development and asset management, okay, through residential, hospitality, and commercial, okay. So they basically build and sell or build and own or build and lease these residential, hospitality, and commercial segments. And what we know about real estate right now is that interest rates are elevated and geopolitical tensions are elevated. Interest rates will probably hold for at least a bit longer. So let's break down the actual chart now. As you can see, chart came into existence in the year 1990, pushed up to these highs, and it looks like since 05 downturned, 2018 pushed up. Okay, the real critical thing is that as price has pushed up since 2021, this is basically quantitative easing right here, pushed up and then started to correct and chop, especially as we got into this all-time high range. Now just to zoom in there, that's just a sell signal. So that's a signal that's going to tell us like, hey, price is not looking to continue its burst upward, right? It bursted up and now it's started to chop. It's probably not looking to burst up as well because of the nature of that correction right here. This correction right here is what I call a reversal correction. It's a ascending wedge. So this is our first sell. This is our second sell signal. This will be our first, especially where price is currently at, near all-time highs, likely to push down. When it came to this level last time, it pushed down. It's coming into that zone and it's starting to correct. It's starting to get agitated, like not feeling the move up as much as I was back in 2020, 2021. Now we zoom in. Price within this correction was, like I said, choppy. As it approached these points, it pushed down, pushed down, pushed down. The same thing on the higher time frame scale is we have an ascending structure. This is an ascending channel. That tells us that exact same thing. Price jumped up and then told us, I'm not feeling it as much. I'm not feeling the energy as much. Not only did it move into an ascending channel, as it got to the top of this channel, top of this medium time frame move, right? It gave us looks like it gave us another corrective structure at the top here. I want to call it a head and shoulders, and I think that's exactly what it is. It's not a picture perfect head and shoulder, but you have a right shoulder, you have a left shoulder, and you have a head. Price follows that right shoulder all the way down, breaking down through the bottom of this ascending channel. There's two entry points now that I'm looking for. This is how I would enter this trade. If price decides to retest, entry. If price gives me another corrective pattern, any type of small time frame ascending pattern, to where price decides to lock quickly and drop. Picture perfect, it would do both of these things. Picture perfect, we get a pattern that's corrective, comes up and retest, and pulls back. And I'm looking to enter off this corrective retouch. That's the wrong. I'm shorting this. Enter. Now you want to know what S tier perfect trade? It gives you a corrective pattern. It gives you that ascending channel, and it gives you a double top, a triple top, or a head and shoulders right there. That's an instant entry. Load the boat. Up the risk a little, not up the risk, up the leverage a little bit on that type of trade, right? It's because the reason being will be because you're gonna get in where your risk is gonna be micro. You know, if it pops above back into this above into this trend line, that the trade gets invalidated. I'm talking about 0.5 of 1%, right? So you might only have to risk like 0.5. You should and probably can risk the full 1%, but I don't mind re-entering trades. I know some traders are like, once they get stopped out, they're bummed out and they don't end up re-trading. But I'm the type of person to risk 0.5 here, and if it goes against me, okay, again another 0.5. So that's 1% now of the account on two different trades. But if I only lose 0.5% one time, and then the next trade makes me, that could be potentially a 10R multiple trade, right? Because how much room do we have to fall? First lows come into the bottom of this structure. That's 46. That's 1 to 46. And I'm looking to catch this entire move down. It's gonna take a minute, but I'm gonna be eating this whole move up. This is why I love swings. And I just focus on the small moves. But it's swing. I will say day trading simple too, because if you can just get a screener, tells you the stock that's moving the most in the market, you go to that stock and you can trade a setup that works. That's good too. It just takes a little bit more focus on like doing the exact same thing every time. Like swings have a little bit more of an art to it, in my opinion. Day trading is just like you're looking for the same exact thing, rinse and repeat every single day. Hence the term day trading. Quick little breakdown there. And what would suck, and it happens, this might just go. It might just keep falling. Price might just keep falling. But you don't get that feeling of missing out. You wait. You wait for some sort of confirmations, for some sort of target. The market will give you a target. Let me know if that made sense. I know there's one person in here. Hit the chat. Let me know if that made sense. Let me do all chat. Make sure. I know you're just one person, but if you want to know more, if you have any questions, give me 100%. Give me I'm not really understanding. Oh shit, I fucked that up. Give me a like if you like this.
Who worked on a bipartisan basis to pass this law. And they are demanding full compliance with the law, and they're demanding more than the occasional friendly podcast interview. Bondi will be going under oath. With all of this news in tonight and the meeting I mentioned, I want to bring in Emily Bazelon, New York Times Magazine, legal writer there.
NTX is
look at
in
this
the
story
money.
without fear or favor, as we say. Welcome back.
It's still a good setup though.
Thanks so much, Ari.
I'll give you a two-part question up top.
giving you
This is the
that.
easy part. Is this good enough? Or does Congress have a point that they're
Maybe a bit of a continuation here. A little double top.
whoever, including victims, but not do this? And second, what do you think of my observation?
I'm so
about
glad this
Blanche,
didn't stop
that
me
there's
out.
such tension and secrecy here. I'm going to grant him the competence that he knows.
What's funny is this would have worked out. I just would have needed to close the trade.
Under the Biden-Garland Justice Department, written by
5 days later.
etc. He's a lawyer. I'm going to grant him. He knows that, and yet he doesn't even say, "Hey, they might have made some mistakes." He keeps saying everything's fine, and it's not fine.
Yeah, well, to start with your easy question, no, that is not what a redaction would look like, given what we know about what Congress decreed in this act that it passed. That just looks like a kind of blanket, you can't know anything about this investigation, and that seems hard to justify. I think you're completely right about Blanche. He is trying to say, everything's fine, nothing to see here, but also we prosecute everyone. And we've been yelling and screaming and hoping people will come and give us information. That was his response to the British potential prosecution of Prince Andrew, as if we don't have the same information they have, and as if there aren't all kinds of questions swirling around, and this still kind of essential mystery, given how giant this conspiracy was and how many people were victimized by it. How can it possibly be that there's nobody else to prosecute, right? I still don't feel like I understand the answer to that question. And Blanche has to both say, or try to say,
but it's
we're
still
doing
interesting
everything,
because
you know, we're tough.
this is
And
still
also,
interesting
but there's
interesting
nothing
because
to indict here.
for sales now.
Yeah, and the Bondi memo, which said, we're not going any further because there's nothing else to see, there's no client list, there's no evidence of blackmail, she said, and there's no one else to research. But other countries have already found there are people worth researching. There have been arrests in the UK.
Exactly, and that is just hard to square. And I think, you know, the reason some of the senators are focusing on this particular DEA document is that it would seem to have the kinds of facts in it that you could then wonder, well, why weren't the people named in this as potential
Is this just a
co-conspirators?
entry for
Why weren't
sales?
they indicted? And there could be
How
perfectly
expensive are
good
these
reasons for
cells?
that. And normally, outside of this particular law Congress passed, DOJ would not release information about people who they decided not to prosecute, right? Because we let people go on with their
$300.
lives, and we trust
I mean, it's
the
actually
government
technically
to
not how
decide
expensive are these cells.
whether
It's more
it's worth
so
indicting someone or not. But this case seems so different, given its
It's more
scope,
so-
given the, you know, sweetheart deal that Epstein received himself, and because of all of that, it's just a different set of circumstances, and I think it's just very hard for Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi to put to rest all the doubts that they in fact stirred up
It's
when
more
Bondi
so-
started talking about this client list.
how much do I want to pay for this thesis? I think I want to pay. I want it. This is what's tough.
Donald Trump dialing up attacks on the First Amendment. He's floundering in the Iran war.
I've been trying to tell myself
He's
not to
now
look
abuse
too
power in a
too
likely
much down at the
illegal
smaller
way
time
to
frame,
censor coverage. He posted
especially
about
when there's not enough
treason
information on the
and
higher
other
time frame.
clearly false, scare tactics. But moments after that post, he was also threatening them on Air Force One, as you hear, clashing with.
But it's
reporters.
falling.
The president lashing out. It's not just
It's
rhetoric.
some information, right? We got this all-time high.
To abuse government power to censor
Previous
war
all-time
coverage
high.
and to retaliate or extort.
We have this previous all-time high. It's made a double top up here. I tried to catch the calls mistakenly. The weekly told me to take the sells. It pushed down. It's pushed down all week. I could get in now. And the problem is it's a pretty good setup. What did these guys mine? Sell gold, copper, and related activities provides a prevention of money fine business. I don't even know where these mines are. I'm doing research on B, Barrick Mining Corporation. Where are these mines? Carlin, Cortez, Turquoise Ridge, Pueblo Viejo, Laulo, Goncoto, Cabali, Veladero, North Mara, Bullion, Hulu. Where are these mines at? I'm trying to see if it makes sense to take a put option trade. The weekly tells me to take puts, but the smaller time frames haven't given me, I wouldn't say it hasn't given me anything, but it's 50-50 if the entry's right. Everything else tells me the direction's good, but it might be early. Any reason why you would agree with taking puts today? I know it's that they sell gold and stuff. Just trying to get a bit more information. Nevada. Of course. Huge mine in the Republic of Congo, I think. They got mines everywhere. US, Africa. What's me? GLD. I mean, gold has rolled over. It looks like gold has rolled over. It's down 15% from last 2 weeks and 20% the last like 3 months from the 3 months ago highs. Let me look at 10-year. Yields are up. Yields are up. About 2.75% this week, and up maybe about 5% over the last 2 weeks. And the dollar is fallen a bit this week, about 1%. But it's up about 1.6% the last 3 weeks. tripping? Oh, I said gold versus the dollar. Maybe not the actual commodity itself. Actually, that gold down 15%. That was gold versus dollar. What's the ticker for gold? Price, like the price of gold. Then I don't get what you're saying. Bro, last 3 weeks, gold is down 15%. From March 2nd. Then gold is down 15%. From March 2nd, the highs of it being at about 5,430 to where it's now trading at 4,586. Looking at GC. Is it not the same? Bro, what is this guy talking about? Kinda, yeah. It's starting to piss me off. Doesn't know what he's talking about, I think.
It's been good.
That's fair. I thought I had commodities. Yeah, here's bro. I had two. That's why it caught itself here.
Okay. Okay, I understand it now. I understand it now.
I understand it now. It kind of matches up. Don't tell me ChatGPT can help me. All right, no, it can help me trade, but more so understanding. It's I don't know what the first. Wait for the range to break down. Is that what it's saying? Or yeah, that'd be a good zone for it to come back to as well. Obviously, high percentage zone. Oh shit, I didn't even put the picture. Facts. It's like I already knew all this. Well, it's good to see it, I guess. That's why I didn't want to trade it at first. I'm shorting support on a micro level. Price needs liquidity to move before continuing down. It is an easy place for a bounce. Has to be clean, not a slow bleed. Facts. Not gonna lie, that's gonna be a better trader. Just reading that. This is a good setup to watch for puts. This is a very good setup to watch for puts. Like, I need to have an alert. I want to know if it gets aggressive here and breaks down. I want to know if it comes back up here. Oh man.
Positive coverage out of independent media in the United States. This is happening. This story broke over the weekend, and it's a big one. The head of the FCC, who has lost other plots, including going after Jimmy Kimmel, you might remember, is now saying that he will do something that is probably illegal. The courts would stop if they do it. Try to revoke broadcaster licenses for their First Amendment protected free speech rights. Now,
Crazy,
again,
huh?
some of this failed when he tried to go after Kimmel and ABC, but even the failed plots to censor and attack free speech can have consequences in our country. Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican, saying this is not right.
So, no, I'd rather the federal government stay out of the private sector as much as possible. And really, the federal government's role is to protect our freedoms, protect our constitutional rights.
Politically, when you've lost Ron Johnson, you know you're really out there. But this is not just a political thing. This is the First Amendment freedom to report on the war, factually, no matter what it says about the current government or Trump administration, and your right to discuss it. You have every much right to dissent from this war if you choose, or to support this war if you choose. But both and all things are protected. And your government right now, you need to know and understand, is admitting an anti-First Amendment, likely illegal, I say that because this new plot hasn't been ruled on yet, but likely illegal effort to silence the press.
That
to
fell
intimidate
through. I started to have
and if you're curious,
not such good
not that it matters, but
feelings
one of the
about
outlets
it.
they're going after is the Rupert
I
Murdoch
never took it, but
Fox News sister outlet, Wall Street Journal.
no, I wouldn't even say that. Hindsight's 2020. I thought it was a good setup.
Of where there isn't even a type of pseudo-loyalty.
I never traded it because I never had an
anyone who
entry.
exercises their
I never had an entry on SAP. Thought SAP was a good setup, but maybe just not the right point right here. Maybe not the right level to be had been looking at. And it gapped down to. Definitely should be looking at it for buys in that green zone, but let me ask ChatGPT actually. Take a picture here. Let me just make a new chat. Paste. V. Paste. Paste. Control V. Control V. Again. Control V. So with Ticker SAP, I was looking at the green box, right? SAP gapped up from that box. It was a resistance, then it became support. And then where I draw that ray across the chart is from another kind of resistance, has a couple touches, and then became support, has some touches right above it. And then price pushed up, come back down to that ray, and then it comes down and consolidates and gives me kind of like this descending wedge, which I felt like was a good opportunity to catch some buys. Not only the descending wedge, you see some strong green buy candles in there as well. And so I was waiting for a breakout for this one. I didn't take any trades. I was being patient. I'm like, if this breaks up, it's a good sign that this is acting as support, and that ray is acting as support, and this structure is just consolidating at that support, and that there would be some money to be made to the upside. But it gapped down to this downside, and I'm now feeling like, well, I was thinking about this wrong. That's how I feel right now. I was like, I was thinking about that wrong. But yeah, I think it might still set up on the green box, but we'll see. True. True. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, impulse down. Gotta be careful, which I was. Actually, I think I took some L's here. No. I think I took some L's. I'm probably not going to end up trading Barrick today. Probably gonna end up waiting for it to come back up. I don't want it to keep ringing. So. Oh.
Their rights.
I'm gonna take a quick break.
If they interfere with it,
D4, C4, E4. I feel like I should just play it immediately. If takes. Let's see. I feel like this puts a lot of pressure on him immediately. I'm expecting this or this. Probably this, most likely. Should I take now? If I take now, that's pretty freaking good, isn't it? I mean, he could take back a check here. Okay, there's. I don't think I have to think too much about that. I also have this. I have this, which leads to this. No, it doesn't. I can play this first. I could play this as well. I think I just play this first. Castle. Come on, bro. That was crazy. That was... How many moves was that? 13 moves? I might even pass it up one in a minute. too many pawn moves. And this was a crazy move. I'm guessing it's like developing a lot. This one for immediate attack. Yeah, taking was insane. Then pushes was insane as well. Hitting not this knight move, getting out of the way of the queen was insane. And then yeah, that was just apparently the best move was to push immediately. he didn't defend the move. I was like, okay. Yeah, the best move was the castle. It's like why lose and you lose your queen. Like this. I don't know why I like it. But then it just goes here. Just like this, and see what he does. Okay, what should I take, this or this? I'm probably gonna castle inside, so. Take. Okay. The question is, what to do about this pen? I could just go here. Could go here. I could go here. If here, oh, he doesn't want to take. here, here, here. Possibility have swap the threatening. Here. And then here could be annoying. But as soon as I go here, I can take. Let's do that. If he takes. So if he takes, I think I'm going to take this. Let's take this. That's a lot. Keeps the pressure. Take. I think the idea is to I feel like this is a bad move. You could just develop. I could put my here. What's better here? Or here. Maybe here. Not sure. Seems too passive. Seems too passive. So the king, sorry. What about taking? Taking leads to this. Yeah, I wanna see what he does. I'm comfortable with that. Oh wait. What about this cancel this way? No, that doesn't look good. Let's see. I think I still might do this. Retreat. Let's see. Take. Mm-hmm. I think the answer was to put.
I should have put it here.
Really. This opponent gave me I want to put this. Lose something. I think he has to take like this. Just take. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I'll just play this. I like that. I'm taking. He's not playing defensively. He needs to play faster. This over. No way he actually plays that move. Should I have played this? I don't think so. Should I play now? I just lose. Oh my god, bro. Actually, though. Okay, last one. On today. I think the best move I've done is move here. But I think that's a check. I'm fucking up. That's not a good move. I was going to mention. it. There you go, just take. Maybe I do take a swing on this. No. It's on. I guess I missed it for today. I'm just thinking out loud. I could have just got in there, set to game. Everything's falling. BlackRock's at minus 25. don't know if I even looked at this, actually. I didn't. This might be the same as SAP. This could easily just be a slight rise here. And then no one's surprised when it opens lower tomorrow. Yeah, I think I should close it. Let's take my. Especially when I just do that quick edit. But if this plays out, so be careful. I'd rather catch it above it, like truly above this. No lot of viewers, but I got 3 views. Alright, that's it for today. I've been streaming all morning.